Mhm. All right, it's 6:30. 6:30 on the dot. I first want to say that I'm working on not saying and right so All right, much. It's 6:30. 6:30 on the dot. Let me mute that. Okay. All right. So I really want to jump right in because I also realized that I don't need to do 90 minutes of a class online. Really, before when I was doing in-person classes, that makes sense to do 90 minutes, but I don't need to do 90 minutes online. So I am making the decision to shorten this class to about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. I am on the wrong channel. How did that happen? Okay, there we go. So I just decided I need to shorten the classes online because I it just makes more sense online. So tonight we are talking about navigating spiritual warfare, and I have had a week, a very positive week, but I don't want to say tested, because that's not what it's about really. I'm gonna talk a lot about what spiritual warfare is and what is not. Of course, because when we think about warfare, we of course think that we are fighting something or somebody outside of ourselves. But spiritual warfare is more about the fight that you have within yourself. And so when we say that we are overcoming something, that we need to let something go, all of that is spiritual warfare. But before we get into any of that, let's definitely open with the Aramaic prayer. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with your desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment as all is gathered and made whole once again. Amen. Okay. Now that grounded me. All right. So my name is Kristen, Kristen the Mystic, and I talk a lot about spirituality, consciousness, and the tools that we can use to help remember who we are. And who we are divine beings first. And then we're human. And then we come with all the other labels. But first and foremost, we are divine beings. And a part of my work on this earth is to equip people with the tools, with the knowledge, with the skills that they need to uncover who their authentic self is, their authentic divinity, and also supporting people and having the courage and the confidence to be that authentic person because we can we can be authentic, but do we have the courage to actually step into our authenticity? And that takes a ton of courage to do because you will strip yourself away from being a people pleaser. You will strip yourself away from not having boundaries. You will become a different person. You will renew your mind as you start to remember who you are as a divine being. Tonight, I want to talk about spiritual warfare because, again, we always think that the enemy is outside of us and that we are at war with somebody like, oh, I got into it with this person and, they said this about me and we arguing and we going back and forth or whatever. But it's not about what happens. It's about how you respond to what happens because life is always happening. So, what are you going to do? Do you have the right tools that you need to navigate life so that when you do encounter situations that feel hostile or the energy just feel off, that you are able to rise above that? And that doesn't, rising above it doesn't mean not checking it. You know what I'm saying? Because a part of navigating spiritual warfare is finding the courage to speak up, to have boundaries, to be direct with people. All of that is a part of navigating spiritual warfare. So I already told you, and my notes say to actually ask, like, what if I told you that the battle isn't out there, but it's in here, in your heart and your mind? And so I made a video last week in the class last week where I was talking about how evil, devil, demonic, all of those things are aspects of your lower self. When we say evil, when we say devil, when we say demon, we are trying to put the responsibility and the accountability off on another entity because we don't want to take accountability for our own thoughts, our own actions, and our own way of being and doing. So I done heard people say, oh, the devil made me do it, or the devil was on my back. And like, no, it was you. And it's okay that it was you. But to be aware that it was you is the only way that you are going to be able to grow. If you keep trying to put something off on the devil or a demon or another person, a friend, a family, a coworker, a colleague, then you will never be able to grow and develop in spirit. That is taking accountability for causing harm. That's taking accountability for not being your best self. And it's fine. You can forgive and you should forgive. But the only person you truly need to forgive is you, is yourself. And once you forgive yourself, all else is forgiven. So, your inner world, generally, we are only operating from faith or love at any given time, right? So, did I say faith? No, love or fear, my bad. So we are only operating under love or fear at any given time. And so if you aren't making decisions from love, you are absolutely making decisions in fear. And fear is our lower consciousness. And so some actions can come from you being fearful. A lot of times arguments or disagreements or anything of a lower nature that happens, that's coming from your lower self, your lower state of consciousness. And so your work is to overcome the lower state of consciousness, overcome that fear by returning to yourself. And the more you know about yourself, the more confident you become in yourself, and the more you are able to overcome fear. So my notes say that Jesus was a peaceful warrior. He didn't fight with the world. He transcended it, right? Now, it was sometimes in the Bible where Jesus, he was popping off at people. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit, call somebody a hypocrite, flipped over a table, you know what I mean? But then learning to encounter situations that annoy you and not allowing it to annoy you, understanding that that annoyance is a part of your growth. It's the flick the fly story. It's the story where Abraham Lincoln tells how he was walking down a road and he saw a farmer, and his farmer had a horse, and the horse was this old decrepit horse, and he saw this horse fly, and he went to go flick the fly off of the horse, and the farmer told him, don't do that, because that horse fly is the only reason why this horse is even moving. And so the challenges that you experience in life are meant for your spiritual growth. So I always say, don't flick the fly. Like if I come across a challenging situation or a scenario and I want to be irritated or annoyed by it, I am training myself not to flick the fly. And not flicking the fly comes from one of the divine laws. That divine law being the law of non-resistance. And in the book club that I've been a part of, we are reading Discover the Power Within You by Eric Butterworth. And that's where I heard that story from about Abraham Lincoln not flicking a fly. And so, like I said, every time a situation might come up that might annoy me, I have to remind myself, like, let me not flick the fly. Let me navigate this to see what it is that I am to learn. There must be something in this. I might need to change my perspective. And so I'll pray about that. I'll be like, oh, God, give me a different perspective. Give me a perspective that's in alignment with what you see. Right. And most times it works. If I allow myself the grace and to be patient with myself, then at some point in time, I can really start to see why these so-called irritants or challenges happen within my life is because it was meant for my spiritual growth. Right. And so that's why in spiritual warfare, you don't have any enemies. You don't have any outside enemies. The enemies are only within you and within your mind because you can't change other people. So you have to figure out another way to navigate people. You can't navigate them by changing them because the only person that you could change is yourself. So with that in mind, anything that comes into your life, any situation, any challenge that's coming into your life, you instantly take accountability for it because you're like, why am I attracting this? What am I supposed to be seeing in this? What is this teaching me? Okay, I am a little irritated because I'm a human, but I won't flick the fly. What is it that I'm gonna get out of it? Right? Like, what am I learning from this? So your enemies are always within because you could have an enemy of insecurity. You can have an enemy of inauthenticity. You can have an enemy of jealousy, right? And so having an enemy within you of jealousy, for example, will make you do things from this lower state of consciousness that your divine self wouldn't do. And so when you find yourself operating in this lower state of consciousness, you got to catch yourself and say, wait a minute, why am I doing that? Why am I jealous? Right? Jealousy and inspiration exist on the same, it's on the same line. I want to say frequency is not necessarily the same frequency, but it's just on the spectrum. Jealousy and inspiration are just the opposite ends of the same spectrum, right? So when you feel yourself becoming jealous, your question really should be, what do I see in this person that's making me feel inadequate as if I don't have my own skills, talents, abilities, beauty, whatever it is, right? You actually are inspired by that person. You might be jealous of that person, but the opposite of that is that you actually inspired by that person because that person is operating on a higher frequency than you. And so your job then is to find out, how do you raise up? How do you raise your frequency up, your consciousness level up so that you get to a place where then you are inspiring other people? Right? So the enemy is always within, is not without. But let's say that you do have that enemy of jealousy within you. You will attract people who you will be jealous of. You will attract people to be jealous of until you learn to tap into your own talent, skills, and abilities, and to raise your consciousness up to where you are completely, you feel completely adequate within yourself, secure within yourself, and confident within yourself. So you don't have a need to be jealous, right? And that's how you'll defeat the enemy of jealousy. Poverty might be an enemy within. As above, so below. So with our physical is showing us that we have no physical money, that's because we have, there's something in here within us. We have an impoverished spirit. There's some poverty within our spirit if we are experiencing physical poverty. So then you ask yourself, well, why am I experiencing this spiritual poverty? And it could be because you are not tapping into your spiritual wealth. Your spiritual wealth comes from the creator. It comes from the ideas, the divine ideas. It comes from the innate talents and abilities. You could have a special way of doing something. You may be able to touch people in a special way. You might have some unique gift, talent, skill, or ability that, of course, was given to you by the divine. So then you tap into that, and that's your wealth, right? And as you develop that inner wealth, that spiritual wealth, that joyfulness, that gratitude, that prosperous spirit, right? Just a prosperous vibration that's around you, it will eventually become physical wealth. But it has to happen in here first. So there are all of these examples of the enemy within. And so the enemy within could be, let me see, because I suffered from codependency for so long, right? Yeah, there you go. You can have the enemy of codependency, like I did, right? I had an enemy of codependency that was inside. That was inside, right? Because for whatever reason, I felt like I wasn't enough. Like I felt like I wasn't enough, and I needed to give more, and I needed to be more, and I needed to do more, right? When the reality was and is, I am absolutely enough. And whoever I am right now, and wherever I am right now, and whatever I have right now, I am enough. And that goes the same for everybody out there. You are already enough. There is nothing more that you need to do. You're already good where you are. Yes. Can you and should you aspire for more of what it is that you want, more of what it is that you see for yourself? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you within yourself right now are enough. And I had to heal that enemy within. I had to overcome that enemy within. That was the war that I had going on within myself, right? And so when I speak to a lot of men, men sometimes will say, or what their enemy is lust, right? In the enemy within you, you might have an enemy of lust within you. That's something that you have to overcome. That's the war that you have going on within yourself. What is it? What is that about, right? The inadequacy, you not feeling whole, you needing to have all of these different pieces and parts because you don't feel whole. So you need all these different women because you don't feel whole, right? See, that's an enemy within. That's the spiritual warfare, the one that you have going on within yourself. So if we were to, even though I done talked for about, I don't know, 15 minutes about spiritual warfare, I don't know if I defined it, but I'm gonna define it right now. And spiritual warfare simply is a battle between your higher self and your lower self. Let me say it again. Spiritual warfare is a battle between your higher self and your lower self. It's the battle between faith and fear, truth and illusion, alignment and ego, spirit and the flesh. But let's start with faith versus fear. Faith and fear cannot coexist. Faith and fear cannot be in a room together. You either gonna have faith or you gonna have fear. and you get to decide. We get up every day, and ever fear, if you ever feel fearful, I always quote the scripture, let the weak say, I am strong, right? Faith is how you move and navigate through that spiritual warfare because you don't know what's on the other side of overcoming that. It's not something you've ever experienced before. But you have to know that whatever is on the other side is greater than where you are now. Because you don't like where you are now. You don't like living in fear. You don't like being anxious and paranoid and you watching the news and every time they say it's been a shooting or something happened over there, you just like, oh. You don't want your kids to go nowhere. You don't want to go nowhere and you don't want to do nothing. That's you operating in fear and not having faith. Now, faith will bring you closer to your intuition as well too. So, some people say, okay, well, yeah, that's common sense to you. It's your intuition. Having the faith bolsters your intuition, meaning you don't have to fear anything. You can go anywhere. And if your intuition say to you, hey, you need to go, then that's when you need to go. Other than that, you cool. You cool to just walk through and navigate how you navigate. You have to navigate and show up in this world as if not necessarily that you are untouchable, but that you are a child of God. And as a child of God, in many ways, you are, but in a divine way, right? And so that's hard for us to wrap our minds around. But if you think about children, children are very free. They have parents and people around them who they trust to help them or support them if they hurt themselves or they get in any trouble. In that same way, you are a child of God. You can feel free to go out in the world and try the things that you want to try as long as you're doing it for the higher good. Go out in the world and do what you do and try things and see things and just like a kid. And if you know that you are a child of God, that you are protected in those things that you do, right? Because that is your birthright to be able to do that. Now, truth versus illusion. Oh, now this is a big one. When I said I I had a week, this has been, I mean, it's not just right now, it's everywhere. I don't really watch the news, but I might watch snippets of what's going on and happening in the world and the society just because I'm a human and I live here and it probably behooves me to know what's going on in my world. But we are having an external battle. It's really a battle within ourselves about the truth and versus the illusion, but we are seeing our internal battle with truth and illusion play out in the physical world, everyday world, in our communities, neighborhood, society, just wherever it is that you are living. You are seeing this battle that people are having inside of the truth and the illusion, right? So I'm navigating something personally now where same thing, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at people who are in a complete world of illusion, like a complete world of illusion, and are just trying to run away from the truth. And if you are doing that on the outside, then that's what you're doing on the inside spiritually. You are running away from your truth. You would rather live in your illusion because you feel more comfortable or more accepted there. But even though the world or the society might accept you, the real question is, do you accept yourself? It matters whether or not you accept yourself over if other people accept you. I would rather you accept you than other people accept you. That can't matter more than the love that you have for yourself and the acceptance of yourself. I accept and love myself, and I can give zero fucks if anybody else accepts me. I really don't care. But guess what? There was a time when I did care. I cared more about what other people thought about me than what I thought about myself. But I love myself so much, I do not care whether or not I don't care if they accept me, don't care if they like me. It doesn't matter. It's how I feel about me. And that's knowing that I am a child of God. And if my father accepts me, this is who I was created to be. So alignment versus ego, kind of the same thing, right? When you are operating in ego, you are operating in fear. And when you are operating in alignment, you know, because everything just click and everything go fast and everything goes smooth and everything is it's just like a song, right? Just flow, it just go. But sometimes the resistance and the fear, because again, we fear what other people think, right? You could be, imagine being a boy and you don't like sports. You don't like sports, but you might pretend that you like sports because the ego, the society has said that because you are a boy, you have to like sports and you have to be into sports because you're a boy. But you might be into something else. You might be a classical pianist or something like that, right? But it might not be accepted where you live or where you're from, you know? And so are you going to choose what you are in alignment with, which is being a classical pianist? Or are you going to go with the ego, with what everybody else thinks that you should be doing because of who you are, you know? That's a choice that you have to make. And then the spirit and the flesh. The spirit and the flesh just means your higher self and your lower self, basically, right? So the spirit is the 5D, the flesh is the 3D, the physical, this part, right? So that's a constant battle as well, too, within us. So I have shown, or I don't know if I have shown this on here, but I'm gonna share my screen and I'm going to pull up the map of consciousness because I love the magic map of consciousness. Like this is like my favorite tool. Yes, this is my favorite tool. So I might need to move. Okay. Why I can't see this on my screen anymore. It was on my screen, but now it's not popping up. I'm wondering if everybody else can see it. Okay, it's kind of showing me that. All right. So the map of consciousness. All right, there we go. So this is the map of consciousness. This was developed by Dr. David Hawkins. He has like a whole series of books that go with this map. And I mean, it is absolutely phenomenal. So this is how the map reads. I'm trying to get on the other side or something. So, okay. Trying to take myself out the frame. No, okay. So I've shown this before on here, but at the top is the highest level of consciousness, is enlightenment. And at the bottom is the lowest level of consciousness. That's shame. But there are three tiers within this map. And this is a survival paradigm at the bottom. In the middle is reason and integrity. And at the top is a spiritual paradigm. Our aim should be to get to the spiritual paradigm. The vast majority of people are down here in the survival paradigm. Like 98% of people are in the survival paradigm. And I don't really know. I'm really kind of making that figure up, but I would definitely say the majority of people are operating in a survival paradigm. And if nothing else, if we can get to the middle tier, reason and integrity, we on the right path. And that has a lot to do with truth and acceptance. Like acceptance is one of the levels of consciousness. And that comes with forgiveness and you transcending the fear or the survival paradigm. So our lower vibrations or the lower parts of ourselves is grief, apathy, guilt, shame, anger, fear, pride. Now, desire is on here, but I have so many things to say about desire that I can't say that all tonight. But for the purposes of this map, desire is a part of the lower consciousness. And then here in the higher vibrations is a vibration of love and joy, peace, and enlightenment. Fear is the actual battlefield when we talking about spiritual warfare. That's where most people are operating from. Um, that's what people project onto others. People project their fears onto others. And I've had to tell people, actually, it wasn't that long ago where I had made a post on Facebook, actually, maybe right after the election, because instantly, where I live, where most of my Facebook friends, I'm in Northeast Ohio, heavy Democratic county. I mean, it's so blue here, it's nauseating. Like it's so Democratic, it's nauseating. Like for real. Um, so after the election, I mean, the people on my timeline was just falling out like, oh my God, Trump won the election. Oh my God, he won the election. Like, what are we gonna do? This is terrible. We're gonna go to war. I mean, it was just like, it was so bad that I like made an announcement on Facebook, like, hey, I'm about to unfriend y'all, and I did. I had to unfriend so many people because they were projecting their fear onto others. And like, listen, on my social media platforms, I really only follow like positive, uplifting sort of content. So when I'm on Facebook and I'm looking at all these people that's just falling out because the person that they voted for didn't get in office like we 10 years old, it just was like, this is too much. This is too much. Like, I can't allow people to project their fear off on to me. And listen, fear is the foundation of greed, control, betrayal, and ego. Like, fear drives all of that because fear is a scarcity mindset. It is an insecure mindset. It is an inadequacy mindset. It's all of these lower vibrations. And so people will project that onto you. And that's the foundation for all of the things in our society that we don't want to see: betrayal, greed, just control, all of these things. So to win spiritual battles, you have to rise in vibration, not in fear. Like if you want to successfully navigate spiritual warfare, you have to work on raising your vibration, raising your levels of consciousness. You have to train yourself to have faith and not fear. And it's going to be a play by play until you really get it, until it sink into you, until it's just second nature to you that when somebody come at me with some fear, I recognize it immediately and I shut it down. I'd be like, no, I don't I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Like I had that happen to me a couple of times, like this past week, where it was a couple phone calls that I got where people said something to me out of fear. And I'm like, ooh, mm-mm, fear don't live here. I don't have that fear. You can keep your fears to yourself. Yep, you can keep your fears right to yourself. Because listen, the work that it takes to overcome that's like you finally kicking your drug habit and somebody come and they offering you some more drugs. You know what I'm saying? Because fear is like I equate it to a drug. So you did all this hard work to kick this drug habit, and then somebody that you love come and be like, hey, you want some of this? You gonna smoke this? What you gonna do? You go and you looking like, hey, now, why would you do that? Like, I'm clean. I'm off that. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So like I feel that way when people come to me with fear, like, ooh, why is you trying to offer me fear? Why- I don't do that. I'm off that. You know how to raise my vibration. You know how to raise my vibration. I don't want that. So um you gotta treat fear like it's a drug. So, all right, 7:04. I have my 30 minutes. I said 30, 45 minutes. Okay, let me make sure I'm getting everything in my notes. Oh, yeah, this is important. Real quick, you have to learn how to fight in the spiritual. My sister, my sister always tell me that, like, if I was starting to look at an external battle and I want to be like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to say this, or I'm gonna be like that, and da 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 da. And then my sister would be like, girl, take it to the spirit. Just go take it to the spirit. And that is the honest to God truth. Like this, my note says Jesus didn't argue or chase. He spoke truth, walked in authority, and withdrew when needed. He didn't compete, he created. He knew his source when he said, I and the Father are one. So, in other words, like you don't have to clap back and you don't have to defend your light. You just keep shining because the light always reveals the darkness. However, however, because I am made in the Cleveland hood, I'm not above clapping back, because sometimes at least this is where I'm at in my journey. Might not be for everybody else, but this is me, right? In my journey. And if I do clap back, it's not because I'm trying to prove something. I'm just clapping back because like who you talking to? Or like or who you talking to? Like what you think this is? Like you yeah, so I might clap back, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's gonna change about me, and maybe it will, in certain situations, I really won't give it no attention or energy, but sometimes, because people be trying to play crazy, and you just like I have to remember who I am, I have to remind you also of who I am sometimes so that you don't try to play with me like that again. And you get it out the way, be direct, one and done, and we can move on. All right, so tools for navigating spiritual warfare. Okay, I have, this is actually 6 tools. Okay, 6 tools for navigating spiritual warfare. Number one, discernment. You have to ask yourself, is this a test or an invitation to rise? Sometimes you might have trouble discerning which is which, but listen to yourself, trust your intuition. Number two, detachment. Ooh, the power of detachment. That deserves to be a full class on its own. You do not have to attend every battle you are invited to. Let's say that. You do not have to attend every battle that you are invited to, even the battles in your mind too, right? Like when you read something, you be like, wait, what they in a text message, somebody you like, ugh, did they mean it like that? That's what they trying to, you know? And you have to think like, wait, I'm going to detach because I'm not even gonna take it personal. Whatever that person said, you you can have it. You can have it. I'm not taking it personal. Number three, truth telling. This is so difficult for people to do. Tell the damn truth. Just tell the truth. It's okay. People don't want to tell the truth because they don't want to be held accountable. But the only way that you grow is being held accountable. Name what's happening. And you can name what's happening without drama. Sometimes it comes with drama because people are so afraid. It's like turning on a light with a room full of roaches. Like as soon as you turn the roaches, everybody scatter, right? The light being the truth, and it's like, man, just tell the truth. Tell the truth. Now I'm thinking of the old school saying, tell the truth, shame the devil. Tell the truth, shame the devil, right? If you tell the truth, you are rising above the devil, which is the lower state of your consciousness, right? Truth telling is a devil buster. A devil, evil, demon buster is the truth. Okay. Number four, stillness. Oh man, be still and know. That pause just felt good. That's where your power is. The scripture is be still and know I am God. Mm. Anytime you feel yourself being impatient, not wanting to wait on God, your higher self, to take care of what it is that you've been praying for, use that line. Be still and know. And then relax your shoulders. Un Well, I was gonna say untighten. Yeah, untighten your jaw. Relax your jaw. Relax your face. Just relax your body. Stillness. Be still and know I'm God. That's where your power is. In other words, you done did your work. You don't need to fight God's battles. Just be still and know. And the last two, 5 and 6, are joy and alignment. And these are your most powerful weapons because the enemy can't find you in joy. If you enjoy, your mind can't even muster up an enemy. You know what I'm saying? When you are enjoying life, enjoying what it is you're doing, leading with joy, the enemy of your mind don't it can't match. It can't match to that. So here is the affirmation. I rise above fear. I stand in truth. I trust the divine plan. I am not afraid. Let me say that again. I rise above fear. I stand in truth. I trust the divine plan. I am not afraid. All right, that is the class. That was 40 minutes. And I didn't even mail this out to anybody. So, yep, I was going to say I probably don't even have people on. That's fine. I do this for my love of the word, the love of getting the tools out to people for them to experience God, universe, the divine, Allah, Jehovah, whatever your God's name is. I do this as a messenger. This is what I'm called to do and I'm told to do. Is just to get it out there and it lands where it lands. So I'm gonna close with this. Go back to Zoom. I'm gonna close with this and say the war is not won by force. It's won by frequency. Ooh, I like that. You don't need to fight, just rise. Ooh, let me say that again. The war is not won by force, it's won by frequency. You don't need to fight, just rise. The war is not won by force, it's won by frequency. You don't need to fight, just rise. Let me say that clearly, that first part. The war is not won by force, it's won by frequency. All right, till next time, y'all. Peace.